Listen to the rumble. Listen to the roar. Slowly in 3. They'll be flying off 4. Watch them now.
So I'm going to have all kinds of questions about drifting.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. I am sitting here with 2 drift guys. And if you've been around sprint car racing and all kinds of racing your whole life, even in the last 10 years, you know all about drifting. And drifting's came into its own and has become a huge sport and huge following. And as a born and bred sprint car guy, when it first started getting popular, I was like all the other sprint car guys, shaking my head going, we've been doing that for a long time. But then once I had a buddy named Marty Knapp, and he's got I sent him his Instagram. He's got the red, I don't even know what that kind of car it is. He's going to be pissed because I don't know what kind of car it is. Rear wheel drive, and he's got a big turbo engine in it, LS engine, and it rips. And he came and took me for a ride in it, and then I started following him and really started noticing what all was involved with drifting and you guys running like 2 cars at once and keeping close to each other and all that. That's awesome shit. That I like. Mm-hmm. So for my listeners, first of all, tell us who you are and who you're with, and then I want to talk about drifting and the history of drifting and get all that out of the way first.
Okay. So my name's Dan Jakiela, and my brother and I, Doug, and I founded 50 States of Drift. And effectively, what we're trying to do is just promote grassroots drifting and have a common website where if you're interested in going to an event and want to check it out, you can get on our website. If you're somebody that wants to do some traveling across America, or you want to branch out from your local drift guys and try a new place, or maybe plan a vacation. It's
a drift vacation.
Yeah.
A driftcation.
You can sort of take a look and see, hey, these are the events coming on, and maybe check one out.
Cool.
Drifting's kind of cool in that, just like other forms of racing, it's kind of a welcoming community wherever you go. You're going to have a good time. People are excited to see a new car or a new face and sort of get down on the track.
Yeah.
And so, originally when we got into drifting, there's Facebook and obviously the internet. And so when you're trying to find these drift organizations, they're not named necessarily always so intuitively.
Yeah.
And so it's like super sick drift. But they're like in Virginia, and you're like, I don't know where the heck, okay, that gives me no information.
Yeah, what is Drift India?
Yeah. Drift event. Like,
I've ran into that. Because I didn't know where anyone was drifting. I wanted to see it, and I wasn't real sure where guys were drifting. Right. And when I was in Cincinnati, I found out they were at a local drag strip. Killcare has a pavement oval and a figure 8 track, and the guys around Cincinnati were going to Killcare every weekend. So that helped.
Yeah, we've been there a bunch of times.
Yeah. They just ran there yesterday.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Now is that?
See, that's run by Drift Indy.
Okay.
Again, not intuitive.
Yeah.
Right?
I know Drift Indy is a guy named Thomas Meserol. He's a USAC sprint car driver that I root for. He's a wild man. He's awesome. And he runs with Drift Indy. He drives a sprint car for USAC on the weekends and then drifts whenever he's not in a sprint car.
Yeah, so there's a guy, Edgar Sarmento, that's maybe the sort of head honcho there. He's got a bunch of cronies that do an awesome job running events and setting everything up. Those guys really get down.
Now, are they kind of local to Indy though? They don't travel as far as you guys.
Their spot is Killcare. That's where they run out.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, they originally started down in Indy, and they sort of transitioned to Xenia.
No, but Drift Indy in general, like the Drift Indy concept is at Xenia. But the guys that go to Drift Indy, they go all over the place now.
Cool. And you guys go everywhere.
We'll go
as far as we can go.
Everywhere we can. Just trying to take states off.
What's your Instagram again, real clearly, so everyone can find it?
It's 50 States of Drift, 50 States of Drift, all one word.
Good, and that's your website as well?
Yep, 50statesofdrift.com. Same thing on Facebook, 50 States of Drift.
When did you guys get started drifting? And where? Because I know it wasn't here. We're in Michigan right now. We're near Detroit. Yeah. But neither of you guys are, You guys are like me. You're implants.
Yeah. So we're both from Philadelphia. I went to school in Boston. I moved out to upstate New York for work. And then from there,
what do you do?
This was 8 years ago.
So I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, and sort of been in the auto industry the entire time. Started out doing chain testing for transfer case chains. So like what's in a Dodge 2500, 3500, I've made it on the line. I've tested and validated it. I own it.
Nice.
Kind of cool.
Nice.
And then at some point along the way, I had an opportunity to jump into gasoline combustion engine development. So I did that for 3.5 years, about 3,500 hours of dyno runtime, and then our company's transitioning in a direction for future propulsion systems, which is more on the electrification realm.
Okay.
And when they haven't mothballed the dynos, but for the advanced engineering department I work for, we have effectively mothballed those efforts. So now I build prototype hybrid and electric vehicles here in Auburn Hills.
Really? That's cool. When are we going to see an electric drift vehicle?
There's one out there already.
Is there?
What's the guy's name?
There's actually quite a few awesome ones out there.
I mean, the torque is there.
Yeah, so there's a guy, I forget the
they
pro guy's name, but they took a Camaro ZL1 and they made an
an
electric
EL1.
called the EL1. So
Really?
he competed in Formula Drift. Sort of a lot of challenges there, including even at like the streets of Long Beach is typically in the tradition of Formula Drift, the opening round, it's a big pomp and circumstance, and it ties into some other motorsports events, on the streets. And I guess they didn't have the appropriate fire suppression equipment, and they wouldn't let the guy run.
Oh, for him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Batteries are a different animal.
But I mean, here we come with like Formula E and some of these other E events, so that they better step their game up.
Yeah. That's, I mean, here we are, 15, 20 years ago, no one would have thought drifting would have grown to what it is, so...
Yeah.
Better get ready.
Looks good on social media. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about...
Easy to say for us, but...
The guys running back roads in Japan, right? And they're figuring out in their high-revving inline 6, inline 4 cars how to get around corners faster, and it's with some amount of slip, right?
Yeah.
You guys in sprint cars know that,
yeah.
right? If that weren't the fastest way to get around it, you'd all lose if you were doing it.
Is that where most drift experts figure it started and came from?
Yeah.
Okay.
And by way of Hawaii, it came to America.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, they obviously had rear-wheel drive, big horsepower stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily started with super high horsepower cars. You're talking about like Toyota AE86 Corollas.
Okay.
And then you're evolving those up to like your 3SG Beams engine that would have been like an Altezza.
Okay.
These are like Toyota and Honda engines that would rev to $9,000.
How far back does that go with those guys?
I don't want to speak out of turn on your podcast, but I think you're looking at probably guys racing around the mountains as soon as you could buy a car factory, right? That's going to happen just like it happens here with every kind of American muscle and everything in between.
Yes.
And then that development of guys, getting better and honing their skills and all of that is, your mid-90s.
Yeah, it came to America in the mid-90s.
Early 90s.
Okay, cool.
And then you're going to sort of explode, right? Formula Drift's on their...
2003, I believe, is when they...
Okay.
So they're getting close to 20 maybe, but... back when Formula Drift, and this is hearsay, and I'm saying it is hearsay from me. No credit deserved, but I think, there was a point where if you could go out on a track, on a layout, and like the course repeatedly, like you're just about pro, right? And you got guys crossing over from rally, you got guys crossing over from road racing, like your Reese Millens, your Tanner Fouls, these guys that are like
second
rally
nature
cross.
to us, yeah.
And those guys brought this next level, and that's when things sort of maybe started getting out of hand to where it is now, where it's this like ridiculous showcase of excellence in fabrication, excellence in engine, excellence in chassis, and then car control, and then all of the widgets and fancy things that...
When did the tandem stuff start? Was that from the beginning as well, or...
Yeah, so in order to win, you have to win a tandem.
Okay. Explain to me, like I've never seen it before. What when guys run tandem, they're obviously trying to stay close to each other, but they're not it's not first to the finish line.
No,
is it?
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah,
they're
so-
not racing that way. Tell me what they're looking at.
Yeah, so one of the unique things about drifting is it's a judged motorsport, which sounds potentially.
I ride BMX bikes, and if you look at the X Games, that's a judged run.
Right, but if you want to just be like a hardcore sprint car guy, you take the green, you take the checker, wherever. Right?
Yeah, but
or like a point-to-point race, right?
Yeah.
Who's there fastest? So there's certain criteria, right, that the people that are participating in that event will adhere to, and those criteria are subject to change year over year, but generally speaking, the spirit is maintained.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a driver, you're going to come into a driver's meeting, and effectively, there's going to be some number of judges. Traditionally, it's been 3, and they're going to say, on a whiteboard, here's the layout, right? And sort of as the sport has progressed, there's been new technical terms and what the expectations are assigned to those, right? So they're going to basically request you to run a very specific line. So typically in motorsports, you think of the motorsports line, right?
Yeah.
How to apex a corner.
that's just hitting our marks.
Right.
I mean, we all do that. You got to hit your mark.
Right.
And
And so maybe this line might deviate from the true motorsports line in some ways, right? Where they're going to ask you to run, what they call outer and inner clips, and then there's certain zones. And then even nowadays, they're going to restrict where you can brake. So you can't basically scum a guy off your ass, by trying to brake check him into some point where you've got 200 more horsepower and some crazy side bite that you think he doesn't have. And so there's certain zones that they call decel zones. So if you decel in a non-decel zone, it's like triple stamping and double stamp, right? You can't triple stamp and double stamp.
Yeah, that makes it interesting though.
But so here we are in a driver's meeting, and they're literally just going to go 15 foot by 15 foot effectively. Here's your outer zone. Here's where it's going to be marked. Here's your inner zone. Here's your inner clipping point. All those sensors or all those points are marked with proximity sensors. So they're going to be able to grab and see how close you are.
Wow.
Another thing they'll do, and maybe it's a little less so on the sensors nowadays. That used to be a huge deal. I'd assume they still have them. They'll put hash marks on the track.
I wonder,
right? So
how they were matching
it. You see he's at the second hash, or she's the first hash, or whatever. So they're going to tell you the line, and that lead car is to maintain the line. You want to get a 100-point qualifying run, you put the line. You're on the line. Now, they're going to judge you for style. They're going to judge you for angle. They're going to judge you for line. Those are maybe your primary criteria. So if you go through, just foot down on the left brake, right? Just going 6 miles an hour and run the perfect line. that ain't going to work for you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where things get kind of exciting, right? Because if you got a car that'll hook up, then you can blitz someone off the start, or you can blitz him and walk away. And so as a chase driver, you're left wondering why you're getting smoked out, right?
Yeah.
So the chase car is using the lead car as a clip, and they're using them as a moving clip, right? So the judges are looking for that style, but they're looking for really that proximity. They want to see you door to door.
Yeah, and his the chase car is just that. He stays behind the whole time and stays close as he can.
Yeah.
But yet still trying to keep good angle, meaning sideways to me.
Oh yeah,
and be on the
you
line
straighten
and
that
all
to
that.
0 typically, right?
Cool.
For either car.
Yeah, so you're going to go through, you're going to get some number of runs to qualify, you're going to get a qualifying place that's going to get thrown into the top 32 bracket, and then people are going to go against each other in the top 32. So they're going to go lead and follow. So if my brother and I were going against each other, I lead, he follows, we flip, he leads, I follow. Typically the judges are going to judge lead versus lead, follow versus follow. They're not doing some weird thing where they decide who won a lead chase thing or anything else like that, right? They're going to say, Doug's lead run was, really, really good, and Dan followed really, really well. And then Dan's lead run was maybe not so good, and Doug followed really, really well.
Okay.
We award him. Now, if they think it's too close to call, they'll do what's called one more time, and then it triggers it.
That'd be cool. Dude, now the guy, I'm thinking of, my brain went to MMA right now, and they're having issues with finding good judges that know what they're looking at. are the judges judging this? Are they other drift guys? Do they know what they're looking at pretty usually?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you're looking at a collection of people that are judging motorsports, or judging drifting, not just like in America or Canada or North America. That they're judging. Like these are guys that are judging in Japan. They're judging in Brazil.
I hate when I tune into something like that and they've got like a celebrity judge that's never seen it before. It's like, dude, come on.
No.
Yeah, so I mean, in a judge sport, you're always going to be like, F this judge, I hate that guy. But
at least
I think in drifting, it's pretty well unbiased, right?
Good.
Everyone's got their things.
Yeah.
Creatively.
Yeah.
Wow. And so they're gonna have their sticking points where they're really gonna like, man, these guys are coming in fast. I want to see them commit, and I'm willing to let them cut the line, so to speak, here and there.
I'd be that judge. I like bring it going hot.
Yeah.
I want to see you go in deep and in fast and hot.
Right. And so the name of the game is to put on a show and to showcase what the car can do.
Man, I like that because with no matter what kind of racing you're doing, if it's dirt racing, pavement, road course, even drag racing, it's to be fast. You have to hit your marks. You have to hit a line. You have to hit it every single time, and you have to hit it the same way every single time. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm hearing from you guys. The line might not be the fast way through there, but they're saying, with your car sideways and tires spinning, you need to hit this mark, and that's not easy.
Well, now you're in chase and you got a guy in fourth gear doing 130 mile an hour wheel speed, making it going maybe 65, 70, right?
Yeah.
Or you're initiating it, above 100. The car's completely sideways into a pretty hard banked corner, and it's a wall ride, right?
Yeah, I like those. Everyone likes those.
They run the wrong direction at Wall in New Jersey. So like when they put the guardrails together, you can put it together like a cheese grater or not a cheese grater.
Yeah.
So I think maybe Wall is over now, but it was a big deal because
if
you snapped into the wall, then it was going to grab you and create the car apart. But no, just like you're saying, right? So if you're out on a track, and the same thing would go for road course racing or for sprint car racing. You're there, you're in time trials, you're doing some heat racing, whatever, right? And the track surface is changing because they're putting water down, and they just did clay 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Now it's getting sort of polished up on the inside, and the outside's getting maybe a little fat, whatever you guys call it. And then the sun goes down, and things kind of heat up, and then the things, you're going to be able to get more grip, but there's a big whoop into one, and like where's the whoop into one? If you sit and watch, you can see the guys go around them. And so drifting is like that, right? Where there's going to be rubber thrown depending on where you are geographically. When the sun goes down, the temperature changes. So what are you doing tire wise, right?
Yeah.
Because you're trying to maintain this certain level of grip, so you're dropping pressure, you're increasing pressure. What are you doing, right? Obviously, there's no traction control. There's no driver rates.
What kind of pressures are we talking about with you guys? Probably pretty high.
Man, so to get into grassroots drifting, you're going to get into like a rear-wheel drive BMW 325 and just run about 95 psi.
That's high. That's right. Okay. I was sitting here thinking in my head, like, are they at 40 or 50? So you guys are way high.
So in our car, we've run anywhere between about 17 and 35.
We're down to 15 before, too.
Tell me about
It really just depends, right, on your condition, what the track surface is. Right? If you got tarmac, if you got concrete, if it's a tarmac, concrete.
I'll say you might go from pavement to concrete.
Yeah.
Tell me about your car.
So
it's a badass piece. For those listening, these guys live right up the road from me. So when I go to the store or go to work, whatever, I get to drive by, and you always have the garage door up. When you guys moved in, and I saw an enclosed trailer being used, a big enclosed trailer being used to unload your stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, I hope that's actually a race car guy and not just he's got a buddy that has a race car trailer and they used it for the move-in.
Yeah.
And then about a month later, I saw you had the garage door up and you had race car banners hanging up. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, it's a race car guy. And then I went by and I kept seeing a car in there with a cage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a BMW, but it's an older BMW. So I'm thinking maybe he's a road course guy because we have Waterford Hills road course right up the road. And I'm like, well, it's all right. He's a road course guy. That's good enough. It's still gearhead guy. It's still a racer. Oh, and then I went by and saw like the huge, like you got your intercooler on the front, and I'm just like, damn, that's a real race car. And then the one day I went by, and you had the wheels and tires on, and it was sitting on the ground, and I could see like half the tire tread sticking out of the fenders.
Yeah.
And I told Jenny, I'm like, I think that's a drift car. And then naturally one day it got to me too much, and I had to pull in the driveway.
Yeah.
we pulled in Jenny's BMW. So tell me about that car of yours. What year is it?
87 BMW 325. Sort of a weird year for BMW 30s. That's a chassis code.
It's all stock, right?
Yeah. All stock. A little bit of show, some go. Yeah, so the E30 is, BMW's famous for that 3 Series, right? Starting in the 2002, which would have been, like a 1600 or whatever, and became known as the 2002. Ran from like 69 to 74.
Okay.
And then from there, it was an E21. I believe I'm saying the right chassis code. Small little coupe, front engine, rear drive. Grew into the E30, and they offered them actually as a variety of different cars. So you can get them as a coupe, you can get them as a 4-door, and you could get them as a touring, which would have been like a hatchback 4-door.
Yeah.
And so in America, I think basically the first year we could get them was maybe like 84, 85, but that would have been like super primitive wiring, not so much of the most advanced Bosch. And then 87 was sort of like a turning point year, and then they do what's called facelift for like 88, 89, 91.
Okay.
So my car would have been like an ugly big bumper car that like had a 1-year only ECU. But nevertheless, that car is used to be bright red.
Okay.
Originally coupe, still coupe. Had about, from what I could deduce, 300-some thousand miles on it. Bought it for
Nice.
$800 under a pine tree
Nice.
in upstate New York. It was a New Jersey car, but some kid had it in upstate New York, in sort of dirt heaven.
Yeah.
Right
Oh,
by,
yeah.
maybe 15 minutes from Thunder Mountain Raceway.
Yeah.
And I'll say upstate New York, but it's not true upstate. It's not north of the through. It'd be central New York, Finger Lakes region, if you want to be a purist about it. Automatic transmission, black interior, not sport, just comfort.
Yeah.
And I drove it off the trailer in my garage, and it didn't drive for quite a while after that.
Gutted it?
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, my story is once I graduated college, I had an Audi S4 wagon. I pretty much moved with that car to upstate New York to start a job. And I had, nothing. I had like a bedroom set and like a tote with Craftsman tools in it that I used
Typical
to
gearhead.
do stuff. And, I spent a lot of years moonlighting as an Audi technician and working on whatever I could work on to make money and get experience and learn. And that blossoms into buying cars to part out and buying cars to flip, and then buying a truck, and then buying a trailer, and then selling the truck and buying another truck, and then selling the trailer and buying another trailer. And you repeat that, 3 or 4 times. And now you see what's in my driveway now. And it's basically the product of me continuously trying to improve stuff, right?
Excellent.
And the same goes for the tools. It's it's tough to learn nowadays. But one of the best ways to learn is to just go out and do it. And if the first time you do it, it sucks, then cut it out.
Yep. Those are the
There's no
best.
shame in that.
Those are the best lessons to learn. When you do something wrong and it doesn't work, you remember that lesson.
Yeah, but it all starts with the same thing we've been talking about, whether it's on track or off track. It's committing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I tell young guys that are getting into it. I say the biggest thing to do is just do it. Get in there and do it. Don't worry about if you're going to screw it up. Don't worry about if it's going to be wrong. Don't worry about what your friends are going to say. Get in there and do it.
I mean, the internet's a cruel mistress for that, right?
Yes.
Everyone's like, oh, my friend's a welder and they suck at welding. Well, guess what? Like, there's not that many guys that picked up a tool the first time and were a master at it. And
Exactly.
there's some guys that were taught by a family member, and so that little time when they got all that feedback is sort of hidden. And then there's other guys like me where, our family's not a race car family. We're race car people. Right?
That's right.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, everybody's got their own value system, and it's great to just do what you're passionate about.
Exactly.
So,
That's excellent.
circling back, 87 BMW 325, 2.5 liter inline 6 NA, would have been a 12 valve.
Okay.
It would have been really smart for me to just build that or build on it, keep it bolt-in, keep it simple, reliable. Didn't do that. Always wanted an E30. had a Mark II Volkswagen and sort of the maybe not juxtaposition to that, but the other side of the Mark II, which is a front wheel drive, sort of low and styled VW, is the E30, right? Which is the rear wheel drive, similar kind of distinct boxy European 80s styling. And then I also wanted this Nissan Skyline engine, right? Sort of a sporty turbo, high revving 24 valve inline six. And they make one heck of a sound. And so ultimately, in knowing that I wanted to get into racing, I talked to a boss of mine in high school who runs a BMW shop in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. And they do very competitive SCCA racing, and they do a phenomenal job. I worked for them for free for a number of months, and then I worked as a mechanic for all the times I could before being in school. And my school was either you were in class or you were in co-op working as an engineer. And so I moved out basically for the beginning of my sophomore year, and I haven't lived at home since. So I had 8 to 10 months of a couple 4-month summers and some winter breaks working with those guys. And I said, the guy's name is Mike Gaskin. I said, Mike, I really want to get into this. And he said, dude, you're just going to get skunked. The nice way of saying what he said was, dude, you're going to get skunked because you're racing against dentists. And these guys can pay for a built motor that's built to max material spec for a stock production engine, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows how that works. So effectively, you're paying for a built engine, even if it's within production spec. So it's a 240 horsepower engine that by the time it's built to max material conditions with all the stuff that's allowed and some effective intelligent cheating, now it makes 265. And if you're not making 265, you're making 255. You're always going to be behind on laps.
Yeah.
You always have to keep up, and you're just not going to have that much fun. And so I started to look into other things, right? I didn't even know that sprint cars existed at that time. I knew quickly after I moved to upstate New York, but I kind of set myself on drifting.
Yeah.
And drifting is one of those sports where you can put sort of no holds barred. Like they're gonna restrict you on certain fuels. Like they're not gonna let you run methanol.
Okay.
They're not gonna let you run things that burn clear.
Yeah.
They're a little laggard on maybe like using sophisticated roll cage materials. All the rally guys are using Docal. It's like 30% lighter, 30% stronger. We're not allowing that. I'm not really quite sure why, but
you think it's because of a cost thing or no? Who knows?
I mean,
I think they'll probably change pretty soon.
Yeah, I think there is some caution, and certainly I appreciate the hesitation and wanting to dig deeper, but somebody gets hurt and then somebody points the finger, it's because you allowed it. And so there's maybe not enough data points collected to reflect that this is a valid thing to use versus our tried and true materials like your chromoly or DOM.
You'd be amazed how many things that we take for granted today that work really well that came in that same way. I mean, the Hans device came in that way. The Hans device came in and people were swearing up and down that they were going to injure the drivers way more. It was going to strangle them and all this. And we've learned now that they work pretty good.
Well, it wasn't always that you had a 5 or 6 point safety harness.
Exactly. And, Smokey in Smokey Unick's book, he was talking about fuel cells. He had developed a plastic fuel cell, a rubber fuel cell that could take a hit, and NASCAR would not let him run it. Said there's no way that'll last. It'll wear out. It'll break. We got to stick with these solid steel ones. Yeah. And he fought that for years. And now we all have plastic fuel cells,
right. And now you're not allowed to run
exactly.
Drag style fuel cells depending on what you're doing. But see, that's the thing, right? So if you take safety belts and you install them the wrong way, right?
Yeah,
you can seriously hurt someone. That measurement between the top of your shoulder and where it should be is a huge factor in what the multiplication of forces against you are. Now, drifting is fortunate in that a lot of the impacts, if you and I are drifting close to each other, right, and I slow down too much in front of you, we're going 55, you're going 57, and you hit. Or I'm going 50 and you're going 65 to 15 mile an hour.
Correct.
Right? Now, the problem is when both cars smash into the wall and they smash into each other, maybe the impact's a little higher.
Yeah.
But it's not a 200 mile an hour, off the backstretch kind of thing like you would have in a real intense road racing scenario or whatever.
Customer
series.
Yeah.
So, anyway, car's got a Nissan Skyline engine, full cage, recently. Rear-mounted cooling system. Typical drift cars go pretty extreme now. If you're going to be a competition car, so it's got tubular front end, tubular rear end. It's got a fire suppression system, not a halon system, or maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong.
The halon system, yeah.
It doesn't have halon. We just have a traditional, powder style.
Okay.
But kill switches. It's got runs on a blend of street fuel and ethanol. Just
cool.
Pump
It's got a
85.
Samson's dog box.
It's got a 4-speed H pattern dog box. It's got the rear end is relatively stock in the sense that it's just a welded diff.
Okay.
Got a couple of ratios. It's got a swirl pot degas deal for fuel, and it's standalone engine management and little widgets to play the game as fast as you can and be as good as you can, but more or less a stock long block.
What was the fuel injection system, or the fuel system? Was it the fuel that you were messing with on the dyno here recently? Because I posted that video of you on your car on the dyno. And you had changed the first video you sent me, or maybe the first time you ran it. It wasn't 100% yet, and then you went back and it came alive.
Yeah,
Sure.
and we're still like maybe 5 degrees off what you'd run on a drag setup. We're still pretty ridiculously safe.
Were you messing with fuel system or
ran out of fuel? Just
Okay.
didn't have enough pump to make what we needed. So we did the Mustang Corvette thing where you put a fuel pump booster in, and instead of running the pump at 14 volts, you run it at 22 volts.
Okay.
So we did that as sort of a stopgap.
Yeah.
But the way those pumps work, just because you put twice as much voltage, you don't get twice as much flow. You maybe get like 15% or 20% more, and it's a sort of a short-term deal. So no, I mean it's got a GM Continental flex fuel sensor, and it's the ability to blend maps, but strictly, I'm more interested in that flex fuel element so that I don't have to keep ethanol in it over the winter.
Okay.
I can just put pump in it and not have anything like degrade.
Yeah.
But, when you're between that E50 and up, that's where we're focused. A lot of guys that are calibrating might argue that you get, almost the end of your opportunity to do spark advance ends pretty quickly after E50, but if you want to chase every little bit, you chase to whatever, right? And there's guys that run 100% ethanol, and that's cool, right?
When you're... Okay, I got a few questions about your car that I've been wanting to ask you. The rear cooling system, you have your radiators up in the back window. What's the theory on that? Is there theory because of... I see a lot of drift cars with no front bumpers, and they take hits up there or what? Is it dirt? Is it debris? Is it rubber?
Yeah, so there's a few different things, right? I think kind of the central thesis there is when you think about a race car, you think about, for me, I think about what percentage of my fuel energy is going to be lost in friction and heat. So if you've got a 500 horsepower car, you're going to need like a 200 horsepower cooling system, right? And when you've got a car that's designed to be as sideways as possible, you're going to lose that frontal air space, and so you're going to lose the frontal airflow.
Yeah, you're right.
And then so let's do a cooling stack. So I've got an intercooler, I've got a radiator, and I've got them jammed up against an engine that's way too big to rightfully be there. And so I'm going to have trouble even fitting like a puller fan. So I'm going to run this compromised pusher fan thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to do front impacts and worry about all that other crap, fine. But for me, you take the heat, you put it in the back. There's always air flowing over the top of the car. If you see guys that maybe have a more sophisticated look at it, there's guys that grab air through the side windows, where maybe like in a rally car or road race car, you've got that's sort of like your air for you as a driver or as a co-driver. For us, we've found that with a giant dirt car radiator in the back and a big puller and a shroud, it's enough.
It's cool. Yeah, I like it. It's a neat setup.
You open up space in the front. Now you're moving the heat to the back. You're taking that weight and you're moving it to the back, so you're getting potentially a little bit of better weight balance.
Yeah.
You're allowing yourself to simplify your maintenance operation up front. And, I think it's just a better performing system for the task at hand, right? That was the original motivator, and then there's some sort of trickle-down benefits.
Yeah, that's cool. One thing I see in drifting that is not common in sprint cars or any dirt racing Any other form of sideways racing that I've been involved with is the hand e-brake, the brake set. You guys, I won't say you rely on it, but you use it a lot. Like setting the car, you set it. Now, the only thing I can compare that to is when I raced dirt modifieds. And a lot of cars, most dirt cars have a brake bias front to rear. And like my dirt modified would have a brake bias crank in it. And if I went out and the car was pushing, I could crank some rear brake into it. When I was going in, smack the brake with my foot just enough to set the car and go. But we didn't. That you only did that to get yourself through that heat race, and then you came in and changed the setup so that you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that way in drift. It seems that way like you guys are using that a lot.
Yeah. So you certainly are going to look at most competition cars and pro cars are going to have a Willwood type pedal box setup.
Okay.
Whether it's bottom mount or top mount, and they're going to have that balance bar where you got one master for front, one master for rear, and then a clutch, right?
Okay.
So you already can sort of mess with it. And if you look at the pro guys, a lot of them have really high-end brake setups, which from an outsider perspective and from my perspective at our level of performance now is maybe... I mean, here's the thing. Like, you need to get heat into race brakes to make them work. So in drifting, you're not hot lapping, right? So you think like, hey, I'm going to go out for qualifying, but you were just sitting hot idle, or you're just sitting in grid, like the brakes aren't going to be hot. There's not a guy with a heat gun heating up the brakes, right? That doesn't, you're not allowed to have tire warmers or any of that stuff. So you need to have a good pad and rotor combo that's going to perform off of, I'll say, a cold.
Yeah.
A cold soak.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, if you are running in a situation where you're in a top 16 and it goes one more time, you maybe need to be able to come off warm. So what that compound is, right, that's for teams to decide on their own. You see a lot of vented stuff with high performance, multi-piston, whatever.
Cool.
But let's get back to the handbrake.
Yeah.
So for drifting, there's different tactics that you use to get a car to come into drift. And I think probably every YouTube video about how to drift my car, I'm going to go drift my car, I crashed my car. They're basically going to say like two things, right? So there's a flick entry or there's a e-brake entry. So that flick entry would be like a Scandinavian flick, I guess is maybe the more technical term, and that's a rally thing, right? And it's a transfer of power or transfer of weight in the car, right? So if you want to drift the car around a bank, let's say to the left, you throw the car right, left.
You see that in go-kart racing a lot, in road course karts, where they'll come in and they'll flick it the wrong way, bring it back, and catch the turn.
Yeah. So you point the car at the wall.
Okay.
Then you point the car away from the wall, and then you do something to further complete the upset of the weight balance of the car, and that's a clutch kick.
Okay.
Now, when you're handbraking, obviously you got to have your foot down on the clutch, or you're going to stall the car out and things happen that are not what you want.
Yeah.
So handbrake entry. So if you're going to go balls to the wall, you and a guy or you and a gal chasing you, right? You slam gears 1, 2, 3, 4. Clutch in, handbrake in, right? And maybe you might even give it a little bit of a flick and you grab the handbrake. But when you think of competition drifting, right, you need to be a master of both. So if you and me are going, right, and I've got my spotter and he's doing a good job, it's like, okay, you're going against Josh. He's doing this style entry. So if I'm accelerating and I do a Scandinavian flick, through that Scandinavian flick, maybe through the more aggressive parts, I'm accelerating less so, and depending on where I am in my power band and where I am in my gear. But you're not going to maintain speed or drop speed. So if I'm reliant on doing a handbrake entry behind you, doing a flick, you can like explode away from me.
Yeah.
Right? The other thing is, if maybe you've got a much slower car than me and you're doing one of those and I want to enter drift really close to you, I can just drive like I'm going to smash into you and then at the last second sort of do a little halvesy and grab the brake and then I'm in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you want to be... It's
not only sitting you sideways, but it's scrubbing a little speed off right there at the last minute too.
Right, and so for the rest of the for the rest of the run, you can use that brake in a couple different ways to scrub speed, vehicle speed, and rear wheel speed.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're doing a transition from one direction to another, if you want to slow down your rear wheel speed to maybe get into a point where you're feeling you can get more traction, or you don't want to be on limiter, or you want to both slow the wheel speed and the vehicle speed, you can do that. You'll see a lot of the really good pro guys sort of lunge up on the person they're chasing and then yank the brake, and you'll see the wheel stop, go, right? And so this is like a car that has 800 horsepower chasing a car with 400 horsepower.
Okay.
Because they're able to just go, because they have all that grip whenever they want it.
Cool. I like that kind of shit.
So that's sort of the concept,
that's
right? Two main styles of initiation, your flick and your e-brake.
Yep.
Mastering those things so that you can not lose,
Mm-hmm.
a competition round right from the very first entry, and then using it to, pulse tag some wheel speed off, tag some vehicle speed off when you need to do so.
What happens if you spin out? Scrub run?
0. Yeah.
Okay, totally done.
Yeah, it's a 0.
Good. Should be.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things.
I
Right?
mean,
So
in our racing, you go to the tail, so.
Yeah, so if you spin out, it's a 0. But let's say it's you and me, we're competing, right? And I go out there lead run, right? I spin out, and you're like, sick. All right, Dan sucks. He spun out, and then I go behind you, and I do a fantastic job, and you do a crappy job. I can still win.
Really, that's cool. Yeah, so they can't just sandbag it and be like, he spun out, I'll take it easy.
That's right.
I still got to be on my shit.
So now, here's the maybe more common example. I'm trying to configure it in my head, and so far I've screwed it up. But effectively, you know what? Okay, here's what it is. You're leading this time, and I'm behind you. It's one of two. You lead, I follow. I lead, you follow. I'm following you. I spin. In chase.
Yeah.
So now you're thinking, well, I just ran a 100-point lead run, and this idiot spun behind me. So I basically don't have to do crap behind him. So you do what's called an inactive chase. That really pisses the judges off. You don't want to do that. So you can get knocked off for that too.
Good. Yeah. We're here to put a show on.
Or they'll do it one more time, and then all of a sudden, it's level.
Yeah. That's cool.
So you can't think of it as like it's a bullseye or it's a 0, right? You can't think of a spin completely like that.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised the mind games that come into play when somebody spins behind you and then it's your turn as a lead. There's so many times where the lead guy will somehow boof it. And you're like, man.
On the construction of the car, this might be totally elementary, but I've wondered it. Do you put more turning radius into drift cars so you can catch a cut further? I mean, you should.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But the reason, in 2006, I built Dynamat sound deadening material.
Mm-hmm.
I built them a hot rod coupe. Really neat car. And we took it to SEMA, and this was 06, so drifting was coming on strong. It was like the hot thing at SEMA that year. Mm-hmm. And we were in the hot rod building, and we were right by the doors that led to this outside parking lot that was like in the middle of these 3 buildings, and they had a drift track set up out there. And we were in the booth all weekend, and we could hear the horsepower out there. It sounded good. We could hear the cars running, and everyone kept saying, "What is that?" And finally someone said, "Oh, they're drifting out there." So I, went out and looked, and I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." But we were working the booth. I couldn't really watch as much as I wanted to. I couldn't go check out the cars. But Scott, the owner of Dynamat, saw the interest that created. Mm-hmm. Big interest.
Yeah.
And we got to talking at SEMA like everyone does. You plan your next build while you're at SEMA.
Yeah.
And I told Scott, I said, "Hey, we need to build a 32 Ford Roadster drift car. Come back here next year, and Dynamat will have the only 30s hot rod out there drifting, and that will create a stir, and you will get in all the magazines, and you'll get a lot of coverage."
Yeah.
Everyone's out there with imports, and you show up with a 32 Ford, we're going to have something.
Yeah.
So he signed on for it. And we went back to the shop, and we started building this 32 Roadster drift car, and god damn, it was going to be badass. I designed it from scratch. Because Dynamat pulls a lot of weight, we ended up getting a 780 horse Roush racing engine, injected Ford. Moser rear ends
Okay.
They sent us 2 rear end housings. The one housing was like this bulletproof drag housing that had all this structural integrity to it. 3 different gear setups for it. It was a dry sump engine. I made sure it was a dry sump. Fuel. Oh god, this thing had all kinds of cool shit. I think we had a Tremec 6-speed in it, which was kind of pointless, but it's what they sent. It was a Brookville Roadster body, and one of the tricks I did was, it's a straight axle front end like a hot rod, and you got your wishbones, which are like the radius rods, and I curved the radius rods in to allow for more tire cut. You know, for that reason, I was thinking I got to be able to lay these wheels and tires damn near sideways.
Yep.
Put a Schroeder sprint car power steering, cow steering box in it. Did all this neat shit, and literally like halfway through the build, the car was bare metal rolling, engine in it. It was a roller. Scott changed his mind and didn't want to go drifting with it anymore. He wanted it as a high class road car, like just a fun road car, Grand Touring car. And he kind of changed it. He put these little Brooklyn windshields on it that were kind of European, and the build went a totally different direction, and the car got finished. I didn't even finish the car. The car got finished. It's cool looking. It's a fast piece, but that car was supposed to be a drift car. And I remember when I was building that, I was trying, this was 06, and I was trying my damnedest to find out technology on drifting.
Yeah.
Do you guys allow for more steering? Do you quicken the steering? How much air pressure were you running?
Yeah.
You know, what kind of gearing? You know, do you guys leave it in second gear the whole time? Are you actually grabbing gears? There was all these questions I had back then.
Yep.
And I wish we would have done it, because it would have been cool.
Yeah. For a second, I thought you were going to say the build wasn't finished. It was a little warehouse somewhere.
No.
You know a guy who knows a guy?
No, the car got finished, and it's on the street. It's a fast street car, obviously.
Yeah, so what you call tire cut, we call lock.
Okay. Yeah.
So it'd be like max steering lock.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the same principles that apply to road racing apply to drifting, but maybe in sort of a more redneck downtown way.
You'd be surprised how much redneck shit I see at the top level.
But, you know, you're looking at, like, you know, camber, caster, steering lock, like,
Do you guys
all that stuff.
Do you guys run a lot of camber to bring it back to straight? Like without, automatically?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah, so it depends on your feel, right? So you want to have some self-steer, so I'll mess around with the caster a little bit for that. When you think of camber, right, you think of as you apply force to the tire and it starts to roll over, you're increasing or decreasing your contact patch, right?
Yes.
So, in my opinion, there's sort of 2 reasons for camber in the front of drift cars. So, one reason is just a mechanical constraint on the equipment, their hardware you have, and people maybe buy a bolt-up kit. And so, like, for example, like our front suspension, you know, you think of so it's a McPherson strut style, right? So you think of the top pivot points in the center point of that strut tower.
Yeah.
Ours is actually cut like 3 inches out.
Okay.
But the rules state that the actual point of rotation of the McPherson strut can't be outside of the base circle. So if there's 3 bolts that hold it and you draw a circle using those points, it can't be outside of that.
Okay.
So my mechanical adjustability allows it to be outside of that, but then when it comes into competition, if you're going to get called in tech, then it has to be. Once you do that, that takes camber immediately.
Okay.
The second part of the camber is the traditional sense of camber, right, where you come into a turn and you're trying to grip up and you're going to roll that tire. So you want to roll to more contact patch, not roll to less.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. And I should have said camber caster toe, right?
Yes.
Toe is a big thing. So depending on what you want out of your car, right? My favorite way to describe it is like you think of the guy in high school that's got a car, right? Then he buys a lowering kit for it. And he's like, man, this thing handles great. Well, he hasn't gotten an alignment. And basically his toes pointed out. He's like, God, it's super darty on the highway. It's like, that's what good handling feels like.
Follows the road like a mad.
That's not what it is, man. Like, I bet you destroy the inside inch of your tire. It's like, yeah, it's all my camber. No, that's toe, dude. Camber is like you literally you wear a straight line like you're cutting through a block of cheese crooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so camber, 2 main reasons. Caster, right? You want to have a certain amount of self-steer, but when you talk about a car that's got maybe 60, 65 degrees, maybe a little bit more at full lock, there's sort of weird things that happen out there in the overall geometry.
That's a lot.
Right. And so there's all these different schools of thought. So you asked, do you quicken the steering? Generally speaking, yes. You're going to grab a production steering rack. The rules are going to make you kind of stick around that category.
You guys aren't allowed a quickener?
I don't believe that we are. So
Okay.
like my car runs like a Z3 quick ratio rack.
Yeah.
So there's like a BMW M3 maybe has kind of like the worst possible ratio. We're going to have the most turns lock to lock.
Correct.
Even though that's what you want for road racing because it sort of numbs things out in the best possible area. For drifting, you're going lock to lock, so you just buy the production car with the quickest rack.
Okay. In your car, if your hands are at 9 and 3, what is lock? Is it all the way a half turn?
Oh, it's way more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be like a turn and a quarter or something like that. The wheels hustling through your hands, right?
Yeah,
and that's part of the deal is you learn how to drive maybe barehanded at an event.
A lot of slip.
All of a sudden, you got a ton of, whatever you call it, safety equipment, PPE on. Now you got gloves, so what's the slip now? And you got a Honda, you had these seats with the side shields and the development of safety and drifting. And so there's a whole different thing to like, can you and I get out in the cars and just do some badass driving? And then like, can we get onto a track with all the safety equipment on? And the same thing would go for road racing, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You guys would like a sprint car box. It's like literally quarter turn full lock. But that's a different animal. What is there a base ratio, front to rear weight ratio? Do you want a light rear end, or do you guys try to equal them out?
Yeah, so that's another great question, right? So this is like, as an engineer, I used to have these conversations at lunch. People are like, I know what this is. You want like 90% up front, 10% up back. Done and done.
No forward bite.
Yeah, right. No, you set yourself up to fail straight away. It's like lunch tray racing in the snow or something.
Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's going to be a lot of different schools of thought. I can only speak my own. My own is, drifting, you want grip when you want it. And then when you don't want grip, you want horsepower to just blow the tires off.
Okay.
And grip is something that's a lot harder to come by than blowing the tires off, right? And so you set the car up for grip, and then for those compromise situations, you can account for it in tire pressure and then horsepower. So you want a really balanced car.
Okay, cool.
In terms of the track width, like you were saying, you mentioned the tires sticking out, right?
Yeah.
The track width allows you to get that increased lock.
Yeah.
So a lot of the guys, and we're no exception, are running extended lower control arms. So extended lower control arms, maybe you've got the car towed out a quarter. Okay, so it's going to make it darty and responsive. So, the best way to describe that is when you're trying to do a flick, you want that dart. You want it to go
very
forward.
responsive.
And the other thing is, when you're in drift, if you're trying to sustain some gap, you can basically just rejigger the steering wheel and just keep the car upset. And so you can almost get to the point where you just sort of keep it upset and grab longer than maybe the physics feel like it should work out.
Yeah. You're unloading it. You're keeping it off. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's different guys that do different things, right? And if you go too much toe out, then all of a sudden you're going to start this mechanical game. Right? The same question could be asked, like, there were a ton of guys that said, you shouldn't run a front or rear sway bar. I'm a big sway bar guy. I run front and rear sway bars.
Okay.
There's
the guys that are against it, do they want the weight transfer to help them? Is that what they're looking for?
I think they want the weight transfer. I think they think like maybe it's taking away grip where they don't want it.
Okay.
I to be honest with you, I haven't studied it well enough to know what the pro guys are doing, but I'd be willing to bet you that all the top guys are running sway bars.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that's cool. Very cool. You were talking earlier about very few rules, like rules on fuel and whatnot. Is there rules for engines and horsepower? I mean, can you show up with a blown big block and get after it?
Yeah.
Even though it might not help or might just empty your wallet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's cool. Any kind of car, anything? Just
generally there's.
I know there's a couple trucks. I've seen little mini trucks and shit.
Generally, in pro drifting, they're not allowing trucks without some sort of petition in. But there's a Holden Ute that has a pretty sick.
I like that side of it. The run what you brung side that keeps ingenuity up.
They're looking for cars that are factory front engine rear wheel drive FR. You can have a FF car that you can convert to FR. You just want to get it cleared. It's maybe not so common now, but there were guys that had all-wheel drive Subarus and Evos that were mixing it up.
Cool.
But it's a front-engine rear-wheel drive car in competition. It isn't a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car that's, restricted.
Okay. Why would that be restricted? Just not in tune with what's going on here?
I would say it's not, maybe it's not in tune, but, at some level they're trying to keep it maybe accessible.
Yeah.
And the same goes for the next sort of heavy-hitting roll, which is from that midpoint. If you're looking at a side of the car, from the midpoint of the front strut towers, they kind of say you can't modify it between that and then the midpoint of the rear. So you do your two-go front end.
Yeah.
And that ends up with some sort of, sexually confusing thoughts when you're putting the roll cage in. Because you're like, damn, every road race guy punches through the front firewall and he stiffens that front strut tower. Drifting says, nope, you can't do that. But you do have to go from that A-pillar front post and go to the inside of the wheel well and do an anti-intrusion bar.
Really?
Which is a great idea because you're at full lock and you punch someone, you get your feet taken off. You can't drift anymore.
Yeah.
Well, why can't you do this and that, right? I think part of it is they want the vehicle to sustain an impact. They'd rather bang it up.
Okay.
And another level it is, you get your top X guys that have, a factory-backed budget.
Yeah.
And they can basically build a ridiculous car. They want to have everyone have sort of a fair shot, be able to do more of a home-prepped, shop-prepped car.
It makes for better. It makes for a better show. It really does.
And you get a crumple zone out of it. Like we said, in terms of the speeds, right?
Yeah.
125 miles an hour kind of max. Maybe there's some tracks where they're entering a little faster in the high levels.
What's some of the bigger events you guys go to?
Yeah, so...
And how many cars are we talking?
So we got one car right now. We're building another car.
Okay.
And then, sort of along the way, there's some other builds that we're very interested in doing. Historically, we've done around 20 a year, and we'll try and go to a lot of the big party fun events. When I say party, I mean like on track. Yeah. So your No Star Bash type events.
There'll be like 100 cars there.
Okay.
That's a super fun event, right?
That's excellent.
So you're talking about you like seeing 2 cars on track.
And all 100 cars are in the same class, basically? Or is there...
They break it into A, B, and C group.
Okay.
You want to talk about A, B, and C group?
You can go for it, man. You tried this whole thing. I'm not going to ruin this one.
I'll just shut it down.
No,
what do you need?
You're good. I mean, there's A group is like the guys who are, on a trajectory to maybe be professionals someday. They're competing for a pro license. Your C group is, guys like myself who are just trying to figure it out. They'll send them out one at a time in C group, wait till they finish the lap. B group, I think typically there's still no tandeming in B
Depends
group.
on the location.
Okay.
It's just like
But, they'll send them out a little hotter. Once the guy gets halfway through the lap, then they'll send the next guy out. And then, A group at events like No Star Bash at Drift Indy Kill Care, which you were talking about earlier, they'll send out 15 cars in a row.
4, 6, 8, 10. Just huge. They call it a train.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, when you show up to the track, do you label yourself ABC, or do you make a qualifying run and they tell you what you are? Or do they look at your car, or all the above?
All the above. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So if if they maybe they don't know you, but they've seen you on social media, maybe they'll sign it. If you've been there before, you kind of know where you're at. They'll sign it.
Yeah. Cool.
There's typically not much of a question, right? I like to describe the groups as like C group is I suck, you suck, let's have a good time. You spin out a bunch, right? Everybody starts in C group.
Yeah.
There's no shame there, right?
Yeah. Well, that would be important to a lot of people, because I don't want to show up with my car and go have to run against a Tanner Faust.
Right.
Let me go play.
Yeah.
Let me learn this.
You also don't want to
junk my shit either.
Know what you're doing and be stuck behind a guy that spins out every time, or have a guy that's just not comfortable behind the wheel. He's not comfortable exercising the actuators.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's C group is everybody starts there, right? So living group, there's a lot of guys spinning out, great, and you're gonna have to spin out to find the limit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
B group, people are kind of getting around, getting a little bit better, right? A groups, you're dialed, you're running it, and then you're starting to be able to run with other people, depending on what tracks you're at. They'll do like A group is tandem only, so you have to be willing to.
Okay.
Run.
Cool.
So it's sort of a gentleman and gentlewoman agreement, right? If you go out on the track and you're really not comfortable with say, I think, you think I suck, right? And you're like, this guy, Dan, I don't trust him. You just leave a gap. Just leave a gap.
Yeah.
If you want to run A group and you want to run in the train and I'm ahead of you, leave a gap.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, but
it's
people's cars are going to get banged up and no one's trying to spin out, obviously.
Yeah.
It's not. So you kind of have to agree. Maybe you help them out, you go over, shake their hand, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, if it's something worse than that, then maybe you work it out with the person and say, "Hey, that was my bad. I just rammed you in grid. Let me buy you a new bumper cover." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are pretty chill, right?
Yeah. How many different countries are into drift now? I mean, obviously Japan is, America is,
Canada.
Okay, so we have Canada's.
Yeah, you got
drift.
Canada.
It's
You
big
got.
in Mexico now too.
I'm not sure what it is in Mexico, but there's Brazil.
Okay.
They do a ton of stuff in like Norway, Sweden, Finland,
Cool.
the UK.
Hell yeah.
Drift Masters.
Nice. That's excellent. That's good. That's what social media's done.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think all the places where
New
there's
Zealand,
Formula
there's
Drift.
some real heavy hitter guys. China, Russia.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's good. That's real cool. How far have you guys went across the country?
We're still in America. We've been down to Florida and back
Okay.
is our max right now.
That's it. We're at in Florida.
Places.
Orlando Speed World and then Emerald Coast Dragway.
On the most of the tracks you guys run, is it like Killcare or somewhere where they've got an oval and they just set it up? Is it just a parking lot or is it all the above?
50-50 split maybe.
Okay.
So like Orlando Speed World, they have a giant skid pad where people kind of get rowdy just on a particular layout that they set. But they also have the high speed oval that Formula Drift runs on, so you can run sort of the Formula Drift line if you want the quote Formula Drift line.
Okay.
Emerald Coast Dragway is in the pit area for the dragway, but they've paved a worm path, snake path.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And that kind of levels cars, right? So if you take and put a 1,000 horsepower car against a 300 horsepower car, because the max speed the car can actually go into the turn is like 50.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, it's kind of an interesting leveler, right?
Well, it's also just super tiny,
Yeah, real technical.
Well,
and
you can
tiny.
have a ton of fun there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Your risk of impact or damage is pretty low.
Yeah.
But still tons of...
There's no
they like
walls.
to call slower, tighter tracks technical in drifting. That's sort of what
You hate the term technical.
I dislike it. I think it
it's
just
correct.
means slower, tighter tracks. I don't have a problem with slower, tighter tracks. It just, that's what it
I
is.
saw a video online of guys running drift cars on a big road course hauling ass.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a regular road course like a Road America.
Yeah, it's probably like a grid life thing.
Okay, is that
Road
what?
Atlanta, maybe?
Yeah, it might have been Atlanta.
Yeah.
And they were just drifting the
Yeah.
big road course.
Yes. So there's sort of like competition drifting.
It looks good.
Then
I mean, it
there's
looked like you had to know what you're doing to do that.
Yeah.
It was pretty stout.
So what they do in those type of situations is, depending on the track and the size of it, they'll say like basically this is the point where you can start drifting, and then at the end of such and such corner is the point where you end. So they're not gonna say like
The whole track.
free
going.
for all on the
Yeah.
backstretch where everyone's going 175.
That's
Chelsea
what I was
Denofa
wondering.
did that. I bet maybe that's what you saw. I forget where it was where
Well, I
Chelsea
mean, there's-
Denofa did 175 into a corner.
There,
I was
there's some
wondering
famous
that.
guys that are like trying to have the
Yeah,
highest
yeah.
number for throwing
Yeah.
the car backward or whatever, and that's really cool. That's really awesome. But
Yeah.
generally, at the festival type things,
That's cool.
you've got road racing, you've got drifting, you've got bikes, you've got this robust
awesome.
time attack program. Then they've got after at night there's music festivals, and so they bring all this stuff. That's why they call it a motorsports festival. And that's sort of the core tenet of Grid Life is to bring all of it.
Cool.
And so what they would do at like a Road Atlanta or at like a Gingerman is they'll say, this is sort of where you run. And this is where you don't, it's a cool down section or whatever.
Nice. One more question for you. What's the easiest, best, cheapest car to get into drift with if someone's wanting to go drifting? Is there just a go-to or not really?
I'm not an S chassis guy. Those are the Nissan 240s. I think they have kind of maybe like a price premium because everyone likes them, and that's for a good reason because
Okay.
there's tons of accessible parts, and that was sort of like one of the
Yeah, but now the
main
price is
chassis
kinda
that brought
like
drifting up.
Okay.
on the rise.
I'm a BMW guy, but I mean, you're looking for a manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, so you're looking for like a Fox body Mustang. You're looking for a BMW.
I wondered why I didn't see more Mustangs. Just not.
Yeah,
not-
you should.
yeah. I mean, that
'Cause
seems like a
they're
cheap way to
great-
get
yeah,
into
they're a
it.
great starter car, and,
Yeah.
and all the way up. There's some pretty stout, awesome ones, but rear-wheel drive, manual trans. You can add the handbrake in, whether you interrupt the line or whether you make it a second set of calipers. That's on you, right?
Yeah.
But you should start with something that's you can afford to crash, and
Yeah.
it's not crazy expensive
Yeah.
to maintain.
Makes
right?
sense. That makes sense.
But-
Very cool.
Yeah,
Excellent.
my recommendation: 325, 328, 330 BMW, Mustang, really any generation.
That's excellent. Good, man. Good. Where should people go to get information on your deal? on
Go
the
to our
50 states.
website. Yeah,
And what-
50statesofdrift.com.
50 States
50
Adrift.
States Adrift on Instagram.
Excellent, guys. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Now I have to come to one of your events.
Yeah, you do.
Every time you have an event, I'm like racing somewhere else. But excellent, man. I can't wait. Thanks for coming down and telling us all about that.
Thank you, Josh.
And then after you guys run a few events, I want to have you back and tell us all about what happened and if the car's left and if there's
Let's
any
do it.
tires left. Oh, one more
Let's smash
question.
a wall with you in it, and then you can come
I'm
back.
ready. Shit, I'm racing school buses in 2 weeks, so
Okay.
and crashing minivans.
yeah.
So
All right.
it is what it is.
Rock 'em, sock 'em.
I do have one more question. How many sets of tires do you go through in a weekend?
Last year we did about 18 to 20 events, so we went through about 110 tires.
That's awesome. Are we talking new tires?
Yeah.
Brand new sticker tires.
Yep.
See, sprint car guys aren't the only ones going through a tire every event. Man, thanks, guys. Good to
Thank
see you. That's awesome. Thank you.